you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us, what projects you guys have been in?
Scott?
Yeah, I'll go first because Jeff's probably more extensive than mine. The Toronto Maple Leafs just scored. Okay, so my name's Scott. I've played in a band called Creationist Crucifixion. Before that, I played in a band called Chapter, which turned into Creationist Crucifixion. And then after that, I joined Zao. So I've been in Zao since 1998, like the end of 98, early 99.
Good God.
Yeah, and then through that time, I've done fun things with friends that never really amounted to much, but my bedroom listening. So, but yeah, that's my shebang thing there.
And Jeff?
I'm Jeff. I was in a band for right before Zao called Conelrad, which was a duo of myself and Scott's replacement in Creationist Crucifixion.
Yeah.
I joined Zao in 2006 or 2005. And I do a bunch of freelance stuff. I've been in From Autumn to Ashes. What else? I have a band, Emmanuel and the Fear, band called Leverage Models. Did some recording with Austrian Death Machine.
Really?
Scumbag.
No, that's unexpected. How was it with being with Autumn to Ashes? What did you do with them? Jeff frozen now?
Oh yeah, there he is.
I did. You got me?
Yep, there you go.
All right. I did about 2 years of touring with them right before the band sort of retired.
Right on.
Playing drums for Fran, who ended up having to become the lead singer.
So you aren't on any recordings or anything like that? You just
there was a live album that we put out right after the last studio record.
Right on. What was the name of that one?
The live album is called Live at Looney Tunes.
Sweet. All right, so our first question comes from our buddy Jeff not our buddy Jeff, our buddy Keith that I was telling you about, who likes to dig around in the depths of the internet and find stuff from people. So yeah, he wanted to ask what was the current status from Autumn to Ashes. Are you guys? Is it like done or? He's turning into a robot now.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
We were just talking.
Oh,
how are we now?
There you go.
No,
we good? We good?
Yeah.
Yep.
We were just talking probably within the last month or so about doing some shows. But it's kind of like Zao. I don't see it. I don't see us touring again, like full on.
Oh, so there's no more Zao tours going to happen at all now?
Not for right now. Not a full on tour. Like, we've been doing these little like 3-4 show hits, like maybe every 2 months or so.
Yeah.
By that though, I think we mean like we're never going to be out for like a month or two. You know what I mean? Like a week is maybe doable, but yeah, the month-long craziness, that's probably going to be done.
Yeah, we hear a lot of that with the people we're interviewing now. It seems like everybody from, that generation is like older now and they don't want to, go out on the road and leave their families and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's kind of like a kick in the balls because I'm not like I've never been able to see Zao. And, like I've never got to see you guys. And it's been a band that I've actually looked up to for a long time. I remember the first band I ever was in at all, we actually covered Suspension.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's different. That's cool.
It was a long time ago. Like probably.
Well, where are you based out of?
Tampa, Florida.
Oh, you'll see us.
All right.
There's no way we're not going to hit Florida. Like, there's no way, because Florida's always been such an awesome place for us to play.
See, we get a lot of mixed reviews about Florida.
Oh, there we go. No, dude. Like we've always had great shows. I mean, we've played some of the like nicer, like State Theater. Every time we played the State Theater, it was unbelievably fun.
That's my favorite venue in Florida, period.
Yeah, I love that place. We played this kind of smaller place in Orlando. I forget what the name of it was, but it was still on just. It was like a weird, like
half bar, like
yeah, it was really awkward. I can't even remember the exact setup of it, but it was sort of awkward. But we played there, and that was fantastic. We played at Jackrabbits, that was fantastic. We played at the Thunderdome, that was awesome. Super hot, but super awesome. So yeah, we've never not had. Well, there was one show. I think we played in Daytona Beach, and it was kind of weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird people in Daytona Beach, for sure.
I always liked Florida. It's just Florida is a pain when you're on tour.
Yeah,
like getting in and out of Florida was always a pain. Like I like going there, or like playing there, but it was always a pain to route it. Like, right.
Yeah, because it does kind of pull you down in a weird way. But if you're going there specifically, it's going to be fantastic. So, yeah I'm sure we'll do that.
Everybody says that Florida is such a long state that, like, when you play, you know, you're going down, and then you have to drive for a day to get down to, you know, where you're going to play, and then, you know, come back out, and it just takes too long. So people like dip in and like maybe make it to Orlando and then dip back out. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever been very south in Florida. I think the furthest we were was Daytona Beach, probably.
James Berg, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce your last name, bro. He said he saw you once at during the Funeral of God tour, and it was the greatest show of his life. Wow. So
thank you.
I also want to add, you know, yet again, if you guys have any questions, make sure to throw them in the comments, and we'll be sure to get to as many as possible. Dylan, did you want to take one of Keith's?
Yeah. Can you guys tell us about your beer, the Burned at the Stake?
Yeah. I can kind of start. Jeff, I'll start because I have a little less knowledge than Jeff does about this stuff. But I guess what I'll do, I'll talk about like the brewery itself, maybe, because Pete, the guy, like the head brewer at Against the Grain, he's been a fan of the band for a while, and I know him and Dan have become friends and talked a lot. And it came up because Dan's such a huge fan, as I mean all of us are. Jeff and Dan mainly, though, are really big fans of like the craft brews and all that going on. And when the opportunity to do like our own kind of beer brew came up, we didn't. I think what some bands do, which is fine, and we have no. I think it's awesome either way. But a lot of bands will do it as like a merchandise piece, you know. Right. So like you'll brew the beer, and then it'll be canned, which is cool, or like you'll do bottles or crowlers or whatever. And for us, it was more like we just love the process of what these guys do, and just are such fans of how that's done that our beer's not really going to be available other than in like it'll be like taps will have like it'll be sent around in a different bars for like tap beer. Like
this is West Virginia based, right?
No, they're
Kentucky.
Yeah, they're
Kentucky
based.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not going to really have bottles or cans or anything to sell to people. It's more or less like we love the idea of this type of thing, and we're going to partner with dudes that are super cool. Everybody at Against the Grain is unbelievably cool. We had one of the most fantastic times ever there. And yeah, that's more about what it is, just the love of like it's almost art to us too, you know.
Yeah,
so, absolutely. But yeah, sure. Jeff wants to talk about what the beer is. He'll know a little more about it.
Yeah, I mean, Dan and I were both like, you know, Dan more so than me. Like I was familiar with some of their beers. Dan was a really big fan, but they're really good. Against the Grain, like, are kind of known for their stouts.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They have a really good Bo and Luke, as in like the Dukes of Hazzard. Bo and Luke stout is really good. And that was one of the things, like I told Dan, I'm like, if we're going to make a beer, I don't want to make an IPA, because it seems like every metal band or every band that does a beer makes an IPA, which I like IPAs, but I'm like, I want to do a stout. And when Against the Grain came up and they're like, let's do a stout, I'm like, perfect, because you know. So yeah, it's a smoked stout. with there's a don't remember exactly. There's like a various chili peppers mixed in with it, so it has a little bit of a
little bite
bit of a
to
pepper.
Yeah.
Little bite, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I would compare it. I mean, any beer people out there, like if you've ever had the Mexican cake stout, that has a little bit of a chili pepper thing in it. You get a little bit of the aftertaste, but it's not like spicy beer necessarily. But no, I mean, it was great. We went down and we literally we let Dan pour the bucket of hops in.
Yeah.
Because this was Dan's brainchild.
Yeah.
So Dan poured the hops in, and then we all had like different ingredients that we poured in. So we literally went while they made it. We got to taste an unfermented version of it straight off the line as it was starting to go. And,
that's cool. So was the beer based off of the band's sound, or more individual people in the band?
Well, initially when they approached us about, like, Dan reached out to them, there was a beer discussion on the Zayo Facebook page, and one of the brewers at Against the Grain happened to post on it, and that's how we realized that they were fans. But initially they to do there was discussion like, oh, we could do a Blood and Fire beer. And it was gonna be suggested something that would have like blood oranges in it.
Yeah.
And we decided to go. We're like, well, let's do something more current off the new record. And I think Dan and them were looking over the lyrics, and there's a line in one of the songs on the record, on the song "The Sun Orbits Around Flat Earth Witch Trials." There's a line. It says, "Against the grain, burned at the stake."
Yep.
That's the actual line. And when we were talking to Against the Grain, we're like, why don't we just do Burned at the Stake? The name's already in there. Like, it was total coincidence.
It's awesome.
So yeah, we did Burned at the Stake, and we're like, smoke. And we went with the smoke stout. Originally, we were going to try and do something with a hot honey. Dan knows more about the hot honey than me, but apparently some kind of spicy honey. But we ended up going with the chili peppers.
Cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we're as blown away by the fact that it's happening than anybody is. You know what I mean?
That's pretty much like band goals right there. If I start another band, it'd be really cool to have well, since I'm straight edge now, I don't really drink beer anymore. But
that's good. We're all for that.
We'll name a coffee after it or something.
Yeah. Well, that's actually.
We're big coffee guys.
Yeah, we're big coffee people too.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, Dylan's a fan of the peanut butter beer.
I like peanut butter beer. It's good.
Nice. I've never. That might be pretty awesome. Speaking of coffee, are you guys fans of? I think the singer of Tombs does Savage Gold. I believe it is that beer or that coffee will. Seriously, you won't sleep for 8 days. It's
I'm
fantastic.
gonna have to Google that because that's what I look for when I'm drinking coffee. I'm trying to because I used to be a drug addict and alcoholic. I'm still a drug addict and alcoholic, but I chase after that feeling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to take something, I'm gonna take something that does something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that Savage Gold stuff will. It's incredible coffee, and it tastes it's delicious coffee, and it really wakes you up.
Yeah, my go-to is like 4 shots of espresso over ice.
Yeah, so you won't even need that. Like, you'll be fine. I think actually it was funny too, because talking about like band goals, that weekend that we went to do the brewery, it was like 2 cool, unbelievable things for the band in one weekend, which is super crazy. It never happens. But so we went to the brewery the day, like I think it was the Friday, and then the next day there is a really cool, like, I mean, I don't call them a burger shop because they're so much more than that. It's like a restaurant, but it's like a metal themed restaurant that started in Chicago called Kuma's Corner, and they have a branch of Kuma's Corner in Indianapolis. So Dan, once again, Mr. Wine is, I don't know how he does this. He's just such a outgoing guy, but he befriended one of the head chefs at the Kuma's Corner in Indy, and they ended up doing a burger, a Zayo burger, because they have like other, like themed burgers. They have the Slayer and all this awesome stuff. They have a neurosis burger, which I had, which was fantastic.
The Pig Destroyer pork. Yeah, it was incredible.
They had that, and then they have. I was blown away because all of us are big fans of Yob. if hopefully that's how you pronounce it. YOB, Yob, Doom Band, unbelievable band. They had a Yob burger, and I'm like, how is this happening right now? They have a Yob burger. But it was unbelievable food, incredible food. If you're in Indianapolis or Chicago, if you don't go to there and you're into metal, you're an idiot. Go. It was 2 goals in 1 weekend. So now we don't have to worry about doing anything anymore. We're good.
That's cool.
Yeah, now you can go sit down and have a Zayo burger and a Zayo beer.
Yeah. What can you do?
Hey, also congratulations on the music video release. That just came out today, right? The Xenophobe.
Well, that actually came out. Jeff can tell you that came out a little earlier.
Yeah, it came out in early March. We just added it to the Facebook videos today.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For the hell of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
it's been out for about a month or so. Yeah.
Kyle Alfonso says, Scott, your voice sounded amazing on the new record. Any influences and angles you took on it?
I just really didn't want to be terrible anymore. No, wow, thank you. No, literally, all right, Jeff. I've been singing in a band for the last 5 or 6 years that me and Dan started. So I just finally really sat and really got practiced, learned how my voice can work, know where my boundaries are. Took some sort of lessons, but not really, but at least just learned how to breathe better. Just learned all the things that you should learn when you're earlier in singing.
Yeah.
And honestly too, man, it's just, I think with this record, some of the lyrics that stayed on some of the songs, Dan writes 100% of the lyrics, but when I'm writing songs, I'll put vocal patterns. And so we'll know there might be singing here. So if we come up with something better, we can change it. But if the singing works here, we're going to keep it here. And I'll just kind of write sometimes nonsense or sometimes actual lyrics. And some of the lyrics actually stayed this time. I went through some pretty brutal stuff personally over the writing of Well-Intentioned Virus. And I think, man, I don't know, we're even just the way the band is now, everything's so authentic. And I just I think if you sing and you actually care about what you're saying and you care about what you're doing, I really think that comes through. And
yeah, definitely.
Not that I think before I just wasn't really that good at it. I think now I'm a little bit better and a little more practiced, and I just really wanted to portray the feeling of what I felt when writing the song. So I worked really hard to make sure it was done well. But thank you. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh man, I just had a comment on here that I just lost it.
Oh no.
Basically, it was saying something along the lines of how was recording this album compared to any other album that you recorded?
Was it easier or harder?
Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff?
Apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I mean, it could, because it was done so different. I mean, we weren't in the same room. Really. Which makes it easier on some angles. Where everybody's just kind of worrying about what they have to do to make it as good as possible. But when we did the Fear, for instance, we spent 4 days tracking. That was easier. It was quicker.
Yeah.
It fell together really fast. This one, it took longer. We weren't really in the same room for any of it, but yeah, it's hard to compare it.
So
yeah, the
Jake,
Fear. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go please.
I was gonna. Yeah, I the Fear.
No complaints.
Yeah, I think both of them were the way we did both of them were cool in their own aspects. So with the Fear, me and Jeff really rehearsed prior. Actually, me, Jeff, and Marty all really rehearsed prior because we knew we were going to do a live record. So if you want to do a live record, you better be ready to go. And with a guy like Steve, you don't want to be there messing up and having to redo things all the time. So we really worked hard to get pre-production and early, be really solid. And with this record, me and Jeff have been playing together for so long that it the way he plays and the way I play work together. It's kind of weird. It's hard to explain because I don't think the record sounds like we did it separately at all. I think it sounds pretty natural. and I think that's just a credit to like how Jeff plays and how we're comfortable with each other. But and like this one, like he said, it took a little longer, but it was just as fun as any of the other ones.
Right on. Who does the album artwork on your guys' stuff?
It's different people all the time. So
really?
What was the one? Like the first couple records, I don't even remember. Like Liberate was some guy, I don't even know who. Self-titled though was the start of us, and Ryan Clark was kind of his own thing for a little while. Then I think they went together and started the company. What the heck's the company? I forget what.
Well, it changed. It was Asterisk for a while.
Yep, it was Asterisk, and now it's something different.
Invisible Creature?
Thank you. Yes. So Ryan Clark did pretty much every record up to. Well, he was involved with Awake a little bit.
He laid it out. But all the paintings were done by a friend of ours.
Ryan Clark and Don, his brother, worked on some of the records that Ryan Clark did some of them by himself. And then this new one was Matt Curley, unbelievable, awesome tattoo artist. One of Dan's like favorite tattoo artists. It's funny. There's a great story about this one because. So we started a partnership, which we can get into anytime. I mean, it's cool. We're so glad to have it happen. But we started a partnership with Holy Mountain Printing. So Holy Mountain does our T-shirt designs and T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And they did a T-shirt design that Matt Curley did originally. And it was funny because Dan's like a big fan of his. And then I show him this T-shirt design, and he's like, "Who did this?" And I'm like, "It's a guy named Matt Curley." He's like the Matt Curley. So Dan was like super excited, and he's like, "Do you think he'd be into doing like cover art?" And I'm like, "He sounds like he's pretty like chill. Like I'm sure if we talked to him, he'd be into it." So that kind of just opened up this whole world for Dan. So Dan got a hold of Matt, and they worked together. We sent him all the like pre-production demos and lyrics, and so Matt has been kind of on board with us for the last couple things here, like T-shirt designs. He's actually doing the label design for the beer. So, and like he did the whole cover art, which is one of my favorite covers we've ever had. It's like one of those covers, like a Metallica cover, when you go to the store and you see it, or you just buy the record because the cover's so cool. That's what it's like to me. So
it's awesome. Who composes most of the music?
Right now, like me and Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah. Before everybody would be involved, we would do stuff. Funeral of God was like a pretty combined effort between all of us, and Jesse Smith actually did help on some of that, on one or two of the songs on Funeral of God too. So we were still kind of with him at that point. And after that, The Fear was mainly me and Jeff. Marty did do a few things with us there. This new one was mainly me and Jeff, though. If he's still there. Is Jeff there?
Guy. Yeah, he's hanging out. He's chilling.
Cool.
So I'm not sure if you guys have the Facebook up right now and looking at the comments or not, but Josh asked, "How did you make so many prolific records and then almost 20 years later manage to still completely knock it out of the park with another record? How do you keep the passion and inspiration alive after so many records?"
Oh, I'll let Jeff do this one first, if he can hear me. I don't know if he can hear me.
I'm struggling with my internet here.
Oh no.
Well, here,
I guess he is.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I'll go ahead and he'll be back. Don't worry. How do we keep? Man, well, I mean, we don't think of it that way. Like, legitimately, we just like care. I mean, I think that's the most simple answer. Like, we really, really care. We care how it comes out. We care what it is. We care what it sounds like. It is super important to us. And the passion, I mean, really, music is such a savior to me personally, and I'm sure that's like Jeff would say the same thing. Like so much of my life would be different if I didn't have music in it. That I just truly appreciate being able to write it, and I honestly am able to keep like I don't even know how to explain it, and I just don't want to like ever crap on the opportunities that we get or the fact that we get to do what we do. I mean, there's so much of it, but like I really think it boils down to like we care so much. That's why we did it the way we did it this time.
That's cool. Keeps it fresh.
Yeah.
You got me? Am I back?
I hear you.
Can you see me?
Sometimes.
You're still frozen to me. Let me try to call you back real quick.
There, bye.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with this Facebook
cool.
Live. I mean, we just kind of, it's raw. Know. It's definitely raw, so there's no editing or anything. So.
Our whole band is raw. This is like our thing. We go, like even with the new record, I mean, it's a little bit more produced. And I think that's a testament to Dave and Garrett, the guys at Tree Lady that really care. But I mean, we just go in and jam it out, man. We're not like sitting there fixing everything, you know?
It's cool.
So what am I? Hold on, what are you saying?
Go ahead.
You going or am I going?
You're going. Your turn.
All right. Our buddy Mike says, how do you maintain aggression for Save Yourself from Hell?
Wait, I'm confused. What does that mean?
That's his question. How did you maintain aggression for Save Yourself from Hell?
Like,
how did you make it? How did that record?
I'm pretty sure that's what he's going for.
Yeah.
How did the record stay aggressive?
Yeah.
Because I was 19 and I was always pissed off.
There you go.
Teen angst.
Teen angst,
yeah. So what's your favorite song you haven't played from the new album?
Oh man.
Apocalypse.
For me, yeah, I would love to play that song. Another song I really would love to play is the Flat Earth Witch Trial song. What is it? Man, that title is such a brutal title to remember.
Yeah. So what's your stance on Flat Earth?
Oh, for God's sake.
No, because we actually had a 2.5 hour debate on Flat Earth on one of our
here. Very easy. Talk to a sniper because he has to maintain what he's doing because of the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah,
pretty simple. I think
we had a land surveyor.
Yeah, we had a land surveyor.
Oh my God!
Surveys make GPS on here, and he was basically shitting on everybody, telling them that this is what I do curvature of Earth for a living.
Yeah.
So.
And dude, like I have a telescope right over there that me and my daughter look at the moon all the time, and all the other planets are spheres. Like, why would this one magically be flat? I don't know. I mean, it makes no sense to me. Everything else in outer space that actually orbits eventually has like a round, spherical like
from the pressures of space,
it's amazing to me that we're even talking about this. I can't believe there are people, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you, with how stupid so much of this stuff has become now.
Our producer, Josh, wanted to know, or he's actually like, he's the same way. He's very angry at flat earthers.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually has a family member who works for NASA and stuff, and he's just like super passionate about
that's
space.
Awesome.
But
so, dude, all of us are too. All of us but one person.
So do you believe that we landed on the moon?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not a fit. It's definitely not some fake video that Kubrick did, for God's sake.
Although if anyone did it, it would have been Kubrick.
It would be Kubrick.
Yeah.
I believe we may have landed on the moon now, but I do believe the original NASA landings were a hoax.
Well, I'll give you that. Maybe they didn't do it in 69. But
we were just trying to beat everybody else in the space race,
maybe I'll give you that, but we've been on the moon.
I don't know. I can't. I think we were there when we said we were, but I could be wrong. I'll stick to that.
I do. I will concede that I'll give you a 2-year window.
I will do this. I will say this, that there's a better chance that didn't happen than there is that there's a flat Earth.
Right.
Good.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, Josh, he wanted to know, or go proceed with what you were saying.
I was going to say, unless you're Alex Jones and you just had a lawyer talk about how you're fake, that'd be kind of cool too. Maybe everybody now will stop listening to that idiots.
Well, Josh's question was there any musical classes in like grade school or such, like band, orchestra, chorus, etc.?
I have a really funny story, but I know Jeff was. I think you did stuff in school, right, Jeff?
Oh yeah.
Well, college too, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I started in like 3rd or 4th grade, like with music classes. Yeah. I mean, that was my official school stop. I mean, I had been playing on my own from like 4 or 5. My dad was a drummer, so he got me started early.
That's right on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never had. I mean, I had guitar lessons, but I never did anything like in school. Like Jeff actually went. He was a music major, correct, for college?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like for me, I took lessons. I just got into it because my grandfather played. I started around 8 years old, and then I got really serious around 12. Funny story about band music, though, is I had the band leader in my high school. I went to a high school called Hempfield, which is even funny for that too. But the band leader, they couldn't get guitar players for the jazz band. And he told me if I didn't join the jazz band, he was going to squash my balls.
Was that Booker?
He said Booker told me he would squash my nuts if I didn't join the jazz band.
Wait, were you guys like closer than the normal teacher and student should be?
No, he
not
was just
should
cool.
be, but are.
Well, he
that
was
kind of
just
made
like
it sound creepy.
Yeah, no, he was just a cool teacher. Like he wasn't. And back when we were in high school, I mean, I'm an old dude. I'm older now, so back then, like you didn't have to worry about like lawsuits,
right?
You know, kids got hit and stuff. It didn't matter. Yeah, he told me he'd squash my balls. It was pretty awesome.
Jesus. So a couple of questions in the comments have pertained to one of the bigger questions that we wanted to ask, or topics that we wanted to speak about.
Cool.
Do you still consider Zayo a Christian band?
No.
No.
Like
100% no.
Has your guys' faith or religion changed, or do you just not label yourself as a Christian band anymore?
Most of us in the band have, I think. Well, when Jeff joined, I really don't think Jeff was ever really as much into it as like we were at a younger age. And I will say this, like Zayo isn't like some fake band that like used Christianity to make money or to sell records. Because when we were doing it, we were still playing with like bands like Today Is the Day and Nile, and we were getting like shit thrown at us. So It wasn't like it was helping us. Yeah. You know, we always try to get into the secular market, and we struggled for a long time. Like, and we never, like Zayo never broke. Like bands like some of the Christian metal bands that we've heard stories that they were faking a Christianity to sell records. Like we weren't faking. Like back then, like Jesse, Dan, Russ, like everybody was pretty strong in their faith. I've always been a questioner, so I was never like, I don't think I've ever been like a full on like born again Christian. But probably the last like 15 years or so for me, like I'm not affiliated in any religion at all. I consider myself an atheist completely. Dan's definitely changed his views, and he's totally different with it. Marty's probably the one in the band that still kind of holds belief, and it's awesome. None of us, dude. I'm like totally cool. I love it. That's like I try to tell people, and I've been on a couple different podcasts talking about it, but we're never going to be the type of band that's like not for people doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know, like if you find that that's important to you and you believe in God and you have all that for yourself, I don't want you to not have that. You can do whatever you want, as long as you're not like putting it in the public sphere, trying to pass laws that would inhibit me from doing what I want to do. I want you to be able to personally believe whatever you want. So
For sure. And that's a pretty great take to have on it, because I mean, that's how I feel mutually. Like I was raised like strict Catholic, you know, I was raised like, and in my opinion, that's turned me farther away from religion than anything. And
yeah,
even in my earlier like middle school times, like in middle school, I was, you know, one of the kids that stood out in front of the school in a group of kids willingly, and we all prayed every morning. And then, you know, I played bass in the youth group band and everything else, and I would like choose to go to youth group, and I was like really into like religion. But then at the times, you know, like I was also sent away to like Catholic fucking summer camps, and when I just wanted to hang out with my friends. And like I was also like when I was punished, like growing up when my family was punished, I never really got that treatment because it kind of worn off by me. But my older brother, whenever we'd be put on restriction or whatever, you know, they would take everything from us and put us on a mattress with no sheets and no pillow in the kitchen, and the only thing we could have is a Bible, you know?
Oh, wow.
And I know my mom doesn't like me talking about that, but
isn't it fascinating though that things like that happen with people that supposedly believe in this merciful God?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
and most of those people don't even really know their Bible back and forth. Like that's the thing that's fascinating to me, is that so many Christians I've talked to, they don't even understand or have read the Bible. Or I mean, like, I really cared. I wanted to learn about it. It was the more I learn about it that turned me off of it. Like it wasn't the other way around, you know? So, but there's so many people that do so many horrible things in the name of religion, and it gives religion a bad name. I don't think it's
definitely.
I mean, I think blind faith in anything is kind of bad. I am definitely a science guy. Like I really love the fact that we can test and have hypotheses for certain things, and then you can like do the scientific method. You can get to the point where like other people can verify it, and then if they find different findings, you change it, you know? I don't understand how anybody would want to not be able to do that with everything they do. But
yeah, it's so much easier and fulfilling to have literal proof. You know what I mean?
And that doesn't mean you're going to have all answers. Nobody, and even like most atheists are going to say like, we don't have all the answers. That's the beauty. Like we're still looking for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Someday
Dylan,
we will.
Were you in Six Gun Symphony?
I don't remember. I may have played drums a little bit, but that's
Do you remember? Did you play at that church with us?
I was in the Hoagies.
That was the best band in the world. But
best name ever.
Dude, it's the best premise for a band you could ever think of. It was amazing. They would play in like hot pants, and all their songs were about like McDonald's and stuff like that. Like, it was super cool.
How did you guys feel about the Lesser Lights of Heaven, though?
What do you mean, like the DVD?
Yeah, when that came out.
How did we feel like religiously then, or how did we feel about the DVD itself? Number one, I'm a super humble person. Having somebody do a DVD of me is super weird.
Right.
I didn't know why anybody would care to watch anybody, like why they would care to see me talk about anything. Like even now, I'm seriously perplexed that people are watching this.
And talk about it for 3 hours too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was super like cool. Like I'm glad we did it. Ryan Downey did it, and we were really close friends. Ryan managed us for a very long time. I thought the execution of it was cool and really good. I mean, it was definitely long, but no, I mean, I thought I liked it. It was enjoyable for me to sit through and like just like kind of see things from my own past come up and get talked about. But I feel like I'm talking so much, man. Jeff, what did you think? Did you like that DVD?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I that was getting finished up right when I joined.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really involved with a lot of it. I thought it was cool. I know a couple years ago Ryan talked about maybe doing a new edit of it and chopping it down. But I was just like, no, leave it be, man.
Yeah.
Right on. So, like, what would you say some of the obstacles that you guys had, like, starting out as a Christian band? Like, what do you feel like? Do you feel like it was beneficial to play the Christian card, not necessarily financially, but like as musicians? And did it hold you back from opportunities?
Well, I think it definitely held us back from opportunities now. Like, I mean, I think there's still a stigma about the band that it's a bummer to me that it still exists to people.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like I am a unbelievably huge fan of bands like Converge, Neurosis, all these different bands. And there's always going to be like, I wonder if they would ever even give us the time of day, just because of the stigma of what the band was in the past. I don't know if they would take us seriously. That's always in the back of my head. That's just me being weird. But I think it probably harmed us because of what we wanted to do as a band. We never really wanted to be stuck in anything. So we weren't playing Christian venues when we were like outwardly Christian.
Yeah.
And I know the original band, when they started doing it, I mean, they didn't care about really the music side of it as much. Like, it really was like, this is the way for them to get church to other people, sort of, in a way. But another thing that's always been weird to me is when I joined the band, and the band was still somewhat of a Christian band then, it wasn't like how today's Christian view is. Like, we were pretty accepting of everybody. Like, there wasn't this anti-homosexual stuff. There wasn't this like conservative mindset for Christianity. It was like literally like Jesus hung out with the worst of the worst and the poor. And that's who you talk to. That's who we want to be around. That's who we want to have come into this. It wasn't this kind of Americanized thing that, I mean, we were obviously part of that, but like, that's not how we treated it. It was more of like, let's go hang out with the worst of the worst people and just show them love and see what happens.
Right on.
So, and Dan was never really big about like talking about it on stage.
Yeah.
Either.
Nope.
Like you didn't have like okay, here's the altar call.
Dude, I didn't even know Zayo was a Christian band until I had been listening to you guys for like a long time. Like,
yeah.
When I actually sat down and like looked up like lyrics and talked to people about Zayo and stuff, like, then they're like, oh yeah, that's like a Christian band and stuff. But I mean, like, I was never turned off by it because it was Christian. Like, and I'm a pretty like unchristian person, And like I like bands like, because all right, when I first got into like hardcore or mathcore or metalcore or whatever you want to call that genre of music or lump it all up as, there was a church that we all went to when we were growing up, and they had hardcore shows. And that was the only place we could find this music, and we could see people like hardcore dancing and like slam dancing and stuff. And I remember walking into the church for the first time, and I had never heard this music before, but I was always like super into like punk rock and stuff. And I saw these people like dancing to this, and I saw these like people like screaming their guts out and playing like this really awesome fast-paced music that I was already drawn to fast music. So it was like, this was like melodic and fast. It didn't sound like shit, like a lot of punk rock. And I was just like, this is fucking awesome. And then I heard and saw my first breakdown, and I was like fucking hooked. I was like,
me too, man.
I'm going back to this. I just got goosebumps talking about it and thinking about it, actually.
Oh yeah.
But I was like,
the Cupcakes.
Yeah, the Cupcakes was actually the sickest band around at that time. And then Cameron's band, Upper Hand, was a Christian hardcore band, and like we got more and more into that scene because they would allow our friends' bands to come and play at this church. And it was just like, I was completely not turned off by the fact that it was Christian, even though at that time I was, I don't know what I would have called myself, a full-blown atheist that disguised myself as a Satanist so Christians wouldn't talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was. And it's still like, it was more, music is more about the sound than it is the message. to me anyway. You know, like I don't really care what your lyrics say. Half the time I listen to music, I don't want to even understand what you're saying anyway, because I want to hear you screaming like and doing gutturals and lows and, you know, heaviness.
Right.
So,
Well,
but
I think the way Dan did it though was still like super personal. So it wasn't, he never was outwardly like condemning people. Number one, we've never done that. That's not the way Dan writes. Dan's always writing from like a personal experiences and his own pain, and he's trying to get that out. And even if it's kind of coming through like a Christian perspective, it was never judgmental or
it was
anything.
never preachy. That's
no, it was
it.
because Dan would be like this, like, look, Dan has had horrible things happen to him in his life, and Dan writes about the worst things that can happen, even if it's not personal. It's always like something that he experiences through his own. At one time, he was writing about that stuff through a perspective of how believing in a higher power or whatever was his help, was how he healed himself and helped through all this pain that he went through. So it was never like, we're Christians and you got to be Christian. It was always like, I am a piece of shit and this helps me. You know? Yeah. So I think that's kind of where we were able to get people that, because I mean, like I said, we played Today Is the Day is not a Christian band, obviously, and we weren't like horribly berated by them. Like I think it's because the way we handle ourselves. I just think there's an authenticity to Dan that's super.
Well, and the other thing too is like I've seen a couple people recently over the past couple records like that will get upset about some of Dan's lyrics, whether it's, you know, there's a couple songs, a new one, the I Leave You in Peace song, or What Will You Find, or It's Hard Not to Shake Off the Fear. And they're like, oh, I don't like where Dan's going with his lyrics and like criticizing the church. And it's just like, you need to reread the lyrics to like Ravage Ritual and Lies of Serpents. Like really nothing has changed. Like it's the same ideas, the same concepts. He's always sort of questioned and
right on.
Yeah. I think that's a super bad misconception for people. Like Blood and Fire was not a church record. It was a record of a Christian dude totally finding all these faults in church. And then if you go to Liberate, I mean, there was a song in there about a porn star that was in a car accident and killed herself because she wasn't beautiful enough. You know, there's a lot of different stuff that Dan's always written about that it's perplexing to me. Like people that now go, oh, well, these lyrics, dude, you weren't listening then before. So back then, like, yeah, it was like kind of streamed through a perspective of somebody that had a belief in something. Like, well, I mean, I think all of us still have like dude, space is cool to me, man. So like, there's something more going on anyway. But,
I mean, 5 Year Winter isn't exactly a Christian song.
Yeah. It's a breakup song, man.
All right, so I guess we can get off the whole religious topic. I saw a lot of questions about it. I knew I personally wanted to ask because I was curious. But so Chris Maloney asks, ever thought about changing the band name since there's no original members?
That's the one. Give me a break.
It should have been 98?
98, yeah. Yeah, they should have. Yeah, what are you talking about?
All the groundwork's been done. Why change it now?
I love when people say that, though, because, like, so the original Zao, and we are all friends with everybody. Like, Roy Gowdy is one of the best dudes ever. Like, we still hang out with him all the time.
Like, we just hung out with
we
Roy,
just saw Roy.
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah. So even if you talk to those dudes, like, Zao started as this thing, and then it was building, right? So Blood and Fire comes out, and Blood and Fire is the one that broke the band. Because there's a lot of people that love Splinter, but Blood and Fire broke Zao into this whole thing that we're doing now. And I don't know if people are not paying attention, but Dan and Russ are still in the band. Like, so, and I've been in the band since 1998. Well, like,
yeah, like how much longer do you have to be in?
I've officially been in the band longer than Jesse.
Yeah.
All right. So one of Keith's tried and true questions is what's the worst stage injury that you've ever had or crowd injury that you've ever seen?
Oh, I just found out there was a couple of years ago. It was back in like 2006. I say a couple years ago, but 2006. We were touring for the Fear, and we did a show in our hometown. That was it was a benefit for a skate park, and apparently somebody almost died in the audience.
Jeez.
I didn't know this.
Mike D, our sound guy, was telling us that I didn't know either. Like apparently somebody got injured in the hardcore dancing that was going on or whatever, and they had to call an ambulance, and the guy almost died.
Unbelievable.
But I had no idea until about 2 weeks ago.
Where do you stand on like hardcore dancing?
Oh, we're gonna get in trouble. I don't want to say anything. By the way, the Capitals just won, so now the Penguins have to play the Capitals, Jeff.
I'm not a fan of the karate stuff.
Oh man,
we've never been. Well, I'm here.
We played a show in Long Island last year. It was a small place, and the crowd was like really cool. Everybody was like getting into it, and we kicked into Lies of Serpents, and the spin kickers came out, and it like, and the whole and like people literally like ran, and like because they were like people were like, holy crap, and like everybody was like off on the sides of the room. And the whole room, like everyone was afraid of the 2 or 3 guys that was doing this. And like, it was almost like we were playing to an empty room for a bulk of the set because everybody was off in the corners. And I was just like, kind of like, dude, do we have to stop playing Lies of Serpents if this shit's going to happen every time we play it?
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I'll say this.
Like, we don't judge a show by how crazy people are being.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem if everyone's just bobbing their head.
Yeah. For me, this is actually kind of new too. I mean, I think this happened a couple months ago. All of us are like, we all like Code Orange, and they're from Pittsburgh, so that's awesome. But some girl got her face kicked by a dude with steel toes at a Code Orange show. I can't be okay with that. I can't. Yeah. If you're going to do that stuff, I don't like it at all. Like Jeff was saying, I think it's you're turning the show into a show for you now, like, because nobody's going to look at this. Everybody's worried about where the punches and kicks are coming from. How are they going to watch the band? But if you're going to put steel toes on and kick, and you kick a girl, you are the lowest form of low to me. And
yeah, I mean, the whole putting steel toes on to go to a show anyway is kind of shitty if you know you're going to be doing that. Yeah, that sucks. Now,
but we've also, like, the hardcore scene is why we are where we are. So I am so happy that people still follow us from that scene. Like, I think it's kind of hard to kick and do stuff to our new stuff, but I'm still like super appreciative of those type of fans. And dude, I still have such close friends that are those type of people that do like the karate stuff. But like, dude, like there's a dojo, man. Go to the dojo.
I mean, it's not like a Fugazi situation where we're gonna like stop the set.
We're never
unless we witness things getting out of hand. But I mean, it's not like we're not going to be the type of band that's like, oh, come on, let's get a wall of death going on or whatever it is. Like we're not exactly. That's not how we judge a show. Like,
I definitely have toned it down over the years because I'm not under 200 pounds anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dylan, God, Jesus, I couldn't like.
Dylan, we're courteous of everybody now.
But
here's the thing about that though that I do love, because there's a lot of scenes out there, and we don't want to like not express this, but there's a lot of scenes out there, man. That there's kids that kick and punch, But if they see a dude go down, they're the first dudes there to pick those dudes up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So like, I totally, and that's to me like what the hardcore scene is. It's like a brotherhood. You should love everybody in that pit and care about everybody in that pit. And if you're going to do that stuff, maybe do it not around people. Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I mean, you can definitely see what you're doing, you know, like you don't have to fucking necessarily target people, even though like, I do love to see that. I'm not gonna lie, like I think it's
dude,
rad, but
we played This Is Hardcore festival in 2016, and it was so much fun, and we were so happy to play it. And that room was humongous, and it was big enough that they could have there was a lot of room for people to watch, and there was also a big nice circle for people to do that, and nobody got hurt. Everybody cared about each other. You know what I mean? So
so back to the original question, what was the worst stage injury that you guys have anybody has suffered?
Stage injury. I mean, recently, Russ, we thought Russ swallowed a tooth.
Yeah. He bit his.
It's actually in the video that we just.
Yeah.
He thought he knocked his tooth out with his guitar because he hit himself in the teeth with the guitar, and he felt something go in his throat, and he thought he swallowed his tooth. It turned out after the set that he actually bit a chunk out of his guitar.
Damn. You got lucky on that one.
He also just the last 2 weekends ago, whatever the weekend we just went out and played in Indianapolis, the last show we played, he chewed on power wires.
Oh yeah.
He was, I don't know how he does this. He was doing his Russism, and he just the power cable for the speaker was in his mouth, and he just thought it would be smart to hang himself in chewing on it. So that could have been pretty awesome, but nothing happened.
I mean, we had to drop off Warped Tour because he basically his knee exploded. Yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Russ, that was when he stopped touring with us. He actually had to have surgery on his knee.
Yeah. Russ is a psychopath. For me, like the worst injury I ever had was I tripped on a cord and right on my face, but I didn't break anything. It just like my nose bled a little bit, and now I'm now like I just kind of headbang and walk around like I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt me.
Yeah, I think Russ probably would. Any major injury would be on Russ's side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he have to go to the emergency? Didn't he have to go to the emergency room after the Rising End video?
I think he did.
When he landed on his
because he did the suicide. Yeah, he did the knee drop thing. I vaguely remember that, and I didn't drink then, so like I'm surprised I don't remember much. But yeah, I think you could be right.
Hey Dylan, Kyle Alfonso says he's 6'4", 300 pounds. Do you got him?
Yeah, I remember when I was 16. That's cool. So let's get back to some Zayo questions. In '97, what happened in '97 when the band's entire lineup left except Jesse?
There you go.
Well,
lineup left except Jesse.
All right, next question.
Yeah, you said it. I don't have any idea why all those guys left. I think all of them seriously just felt like, hey, if we're gonna be Christians, we're just gonna go and be like pastors. And Sean went to be a pastor. Yeah.
And
Mick,
Eric? Is Eric?
Yeah, Eric is all. Eric, that was pre-Sean. Eric is a pastor too. Mick left to be more involved in the church. Sean left to be more involved in the church. Roy is kind of like us now. Like it's kind of awesome.
I think Mick was Mick managing, or he runs like a Christian bookstore.
He did that late, like that's what he's been doing for the last couple of years. But I think when he left the band, he was in some pastorship or something like that. So, but yeah, I think that was kind of like they felt the calling for that stuff was more important. They didn't want to do the music stuff. And Jesse was a musician, man. He wanted to do music. So he recruited all of our buddies.
Good deal.
So Ruiz Williams asks, it's kind of hard to read, but why The Funeral is such a different album compared to the rest of of your catalog?
Because we actually took time to write that one. No, seriously, like that record was the most flushed out record up to that point. Like all the other records, we had happy accidents. That was the first time we were like, all right, let's buckle down, right? But I mean, too, like, man, like you think about that stuff. Like, so Funeral God came out, what, 2005? So we've all been through so much in that, like when I started to that time period, that, like, you know, I think that was too, like, Funeral of God was the real beginning of us being like, look, we're going to be a metal band. We're going to just try to actually be a metal band. And yeah, we worked really hard.
Right on. Jacob wants to know, ever thought about re-recording Splinter?
No. Why would we do that?
I have thought about us re-recording All Else Failed again.
Yes, we should. We should do that.
To record it a third time.
You know, here's the funny thing. I've come around to this. I've always wanted to re-record self-titled because I don't like the fake drums. I don't think that record could be the record it is without the fake drums. You're right, Jeff. I'm totally in now for that record. Yeah, we're a forward-thinking band. Like, I'm not going back and doing anything from that other time period. We're trying not to play those songs anymore, dude. I mean,
so Jennifer says she was fortunate enough to see you guys at Cornerstone. How'd you guys feel about that fest?
Oh, it was fantastic when we were doing it. That was like the one, like, festival that we knew we would be able to do, and we knew it would be like just fun. All of our friends were there. Anybody that camped out, good for you. Holy shit! Like, I would never do that. Like, man, good. I like, you are above me as a human being. But no, like, even now, like we wouldn't do Cornerstone now, obviously, but like, I made some unbelievable friends through that festival, and everybody.
I had fun.
Yeah.
I had fun.
Yeah.
Right
I
on.
mean, they don't do it anymore, obviously. Like, but no, that we've made so many good friends from that time period. People that we still consider really close friends. So,
DP Williams says, have you guys stayed in touch with Steve Albini? Would you ever record with him again?
I've talked to him a couple times over the years. Just pretty much like gear questions or microphone questions. Every once in a while, I'll reach out to him and ask him a question about something. I absolutely would record with him again.
Me too, 100%.
Absolutely.
Loved it. Loved the experience. Steve is a genius at what he does.
This is just a weird comment I thought I would read because I thought it was kind of funny.
Those are my favorites.
It said, when I was 10, somebody told me you sounded like MXPX, so I had my dad buy me Splinter.
Oh, bummer. ...
World changed. Still one of my all-time favorite bands. Love the new stuff.
Oh, thank you. MXPX, we just saw them at Chainfest. They're still MXPX, man. They still do it. They're great at what they do. Cool. I'm glad it ended up being a positive for that dude.
I think we missed this one earlier. Whatever happened to Scott and Russ's band, Jade Meridian?
Well, Russ moved away, so we can't really do it anymore. But like, me and all of us in the band, like, we're huge fans of all kinds of different music. So like, me and Dan did a band called Lonely Ghost Parade for a little while that still kind of exists, but we just haven't played. That's sort of like an out kind of growth of what Jade Meridian was trying to do, just like not as terribly like not as bad vocally because I've actually I learned how to do it. But yeah, that's definitely not going to do anything. But I mean, dude, if I could show you my hard drive on my computer, there's probably like 120 songs of all kinds of different stuff. So I'm always writing stuff.
Right on. So I guess at this time, do you guys want to do your vinyl show and tell?
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Why don't you go first, Scott?
Okay. Well, let's go. I'm gonna go with. Me and Jeff talked. We're gonna do 3 apiece. Does that seem okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this one out here. It's a new Thrice record.
Thrice.
I've become pretty good friends with Riley. I've always been a Thrice fan. I think this record is fantastic. I'm bought into Thrice no matter what they do, so they can't really bum me out. But yeah, I love this record. This record, To Be Everywhere is to Be Nowhere, is a fantastic record. He actually I think this one's like a special tour edition one. He sent me this really beautiful kind of like green mint.
Love that.
Yeah, and then there was like a brown that he sent me. So Riley, thank you. You're awesome. Next record, my buddy Travis from As the Story Grows podcast bought me this Baroness Purple record. If you guys haven't heard this record, you got to go listen to it.
I've always loved their artwork. We actually got to play with Baroness when we were in one of our older bands. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is it? I think it's Baisley. Is that how you pronounce his last name? His artwork, yeah, it's unmatched. It's so fantastic. But yeah, this record, I still listen to it pretty regularly, probably at least like once or twice every 2 weeks. And then I'm gonna pull out this one, even though this isn't my favorite Neurosis record, but this is the one I have on vinyl at the moment. I almost got through Silver and Blood, which is my favorite Neurosis record, but
that's an original press, isn't it?
This is an original press, dude. And I got this from one of our really close friends, Drew Jurgens, that works at Relapse. And he sent me this original press, which it's clear vinyl. But this record, man, a lot of people, I don't think, give this record enough credit. It's like one of those like lost Neurosis records. It's such a good record.
Yeah, I got the redo.
Oh, nice. Beautiful.
That's the new one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, dude, it has a gatefold and everything, and it came with like a little poster. I love it. I love anything Neurosis does too. Like, I don't care what they do, I'll love everything. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. So I got been jamming this one a lot lately. This is a band called Brown Angel. They're actually from Pittsburgh. The guitar player in this band was Scott's replacement in Creation is Crucifixion, Adam McGregor, and my old bandmate. Super fucking heavy. If you're like into stuff like Godflesh, early Swans, just completely sludgy.
Right on. That's up Dylan's alley right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
badass.
This just came out maybe like 3 months ago. Also on the completely ridiculously heavy front, this band is called Gnaw, Gnaw. I don't even know how to describe them. There was a band, they were on Southern Lord a little while ago. They were called Connate. The singer Alan Dubin is probably the scariest vocalist next to Dan. I don't even know how to classify what they do. It's kind of heavy, but it's not really metal. There's a lot of just abstract noise. I saw them play recently, and I was completely confused by what happened.
Is their name just Gnaw?
Yeah, Gnaw. Gnaw.
Did it used to be something else? Do you know?
No.
Because there's like an weird electronic band called Gnaw the Bones of something or other. I forget what it is, but that was a sick band too.
No, this is just Gnaw. They have 2 records out. I don't even know who put these out. Yeah, they're from here in Brooklyn. And the other one, and this is the most I've ever paid for a record. I actually just spent $90 on a copy of Wrong by No Means No, one of my favorite records of all time.
$90?
$90. It's an original pressing, and it's hard to find. They did a reissue a couple years ago. It was like a 2-record version, but that's out of print now. And I'm like, if I'm going to spend over $50 on a record, I want a first pressing. I've never spent that much. My limit is like 30 normally.
Yeah, me too.
Like, normally 30. If it's something I really, really kind of want. I bought a Captain Beefheart record recently for like 50, but that was a double. That was a double original pressing. But
Justified.
yeah, $90 for this is one of my favorite records of all time. And I had a CD of it. And when I was looking at, and my CD was unplayable, it was like scratched beyond recognition. The CDs were going for like 45.
Jeez.
So I'm like, if I'm gonna spend over $30, I'm gonna get the original vinyl. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Wrong by No Means No. Best bass tone on any record ever. Right on. The bass sound on this record sounds like somebody's hitting high tension wires with a hammer.
Does it sound like $90?
Dude, here's kind of a bummer too. If they would have had them at the show, I just saw Junius play like 2 days ago, and it was unbelievable, so awesome. And they didn't have vinyl. If they would have had vinyl, I probably would have pulled that one out for you because that record is so good.
So, what would you say is like the most ridiculous record in both your collections?
Like rare wise or just weird?
No, just like strange, like people would be just flabbergasted by having it.
I have How the Grinch Stole Christmas soundtrack. And I have a Sesame Street soundtrack too.
I used to have Best of Bill Cosby.
Right.
Oh, you better get rid of that, man.
No.
I did.
All right. This record right here. It's called Having Fun with Elvis on Stage. It's an Elvis Presley record. But here's the thing. There's no music on it. It's only his in-between song banter. So it's Elvis talking in between songs, and then it cuts off every time a song starts. But here's the thing. It's from the Fat Elvis years. So it's like we're talking 1970s drugged up Elvis telling jokes in between songs. And there's no songs on it.
I'm going to try.
I have to hear it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It even says a talking album only.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's absolutely the most ridiculous thing ever. And this is one of those things that I hunted down for a long time. Like I'd go to like used record stores. I'm like, do you have the Elvis talking record? And they're like, you're like, no. I finally found a copy. It's actually it's really funny. It's also kind of depressing.
So
it's a good time.
Jennifer asks, are there any bands or genres that you guys would be into that might surprise people besides talking Elvis records?
And I don't know, Scott, we've never discussed this. I know me, Dan, and Russ are really into the Grateful Dead.
Oh, I'm a huge fan. Well, American Beauty, I think, is like a masterpiece record. And when they like their jam stuff, I love a lot too. Like, dude, even the new John Mayer with them like is fantastic. But yeah,
John Mayer
totally
with Dead is
fully.
No, Dan and I will spend usually like Dan and I room in hotels when we're traveling. And the past couple times, Dan and I have sat up till like 2 a.m. talking about like, oh, did you hear this Dead show from 1973? And yeah.
So
into the Dead.
Have you heard of the Michael Jackson spoken word narration to the movie E.T.? That's on vinyl as well.
Oh, that sounds like an unbelievable thing.
So would that be like kind of like one of those like riff tracks things, like where it's just like him watching it in real time,
like Mystery Science Theater?
You could turn down the audio on the TV and just watch or listen to Michael Jackson narrate the entire E.T. movie.
That might be fantastic.
Oh no!
And the cover is just like him hugging fucking fake E.T. Like,
why not? I mean, that should be it. My weird music thing that I like. Well, I'm gonna try to go see Toto in May, but that shouldn't be a weird thing for anybody because Toto's awesome. So fuck you if you don't like Toto. I am a huge fan of ABBA too. Like I absolutely every time Dancing Queen comes on the radio, I like turn it up loud as shit. So
I still own my the first record I ever bought.
Yes. There it is.
I try to keep like oldies out of my collection, and I think the most I ever spent on a record is my Meatloaf picture disc of "Bat Out of Hell."
Damn,
and that thing was badass.
Wow.
Which is oddly one of that picture disc is actually kind of famous for being one of the few picture discs that actually sounds all right. Like, because usually picture discs sound like shit. The Bat Out of Hell picture disc actually sounds good.
Yeah,
it's good pressing. Yeah.
I'm definitely satisfied with it. Okay, so now that we're past vinyl show and tell, I guess that all that is left is like tour stories and in like touring mode. So,
okay.
Like, what's one of the weirdest places you guys have ever played?
Probably the thing we just did.
No.
Oh,
I was going to say the strip club that we played a couple months ago.
Yeah. We just played, yeah.
But no, the weirdest show we ever played, Scott, where it was in California. Was it with Maylene?
Wait a second.
Maylene and the Sunset. We played that outdoor. It was like a Mexican restaurant.
It was in the desert. It was in the desert of California.
Yeah, it was an outdoor like band shell in the parking lot of a Mexican restaurant out in the middle of nowhere in California.
Yep.
It was so weird.
Super
Where
weird.
was that? What town was that?
Oh man.
Was that the tour with Maylene and Throwdown?
I think it was the Throwdown tour. Yeah. I'll have to look at my laminate. I don't even remember where it was.
Literally, it looked like it kind of looked like, like the bar in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah, Titty Twister.
It was kind of like
Titty
that,
Twister.
but you were playing in the back parking lot of the Titty Twister.
And Cheech Marin wasn't there to tell you to do anything cool.
Tell you about every type of pussy.
It didn't even seem like the people that worked at the restaurant were aware that a show was going to happen.
Yeah, it was super.
And, like, we all showed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, though. It was in California.
Who was one of the funnest bands that you've got to tour with?
Oh, wow.
We always had a good time with the Dillinger guys.
Yeah.
Oh, Dillinger's amazing.
Dillinger Escape Plan tours. We did a tour. We actually did a tour with Dillinger Escape Plan and Every Time I Die, which was probably one of the funnest tours I've ever been on. I mean, dude, we're like, all of us are just like, we just want to be friends with everybody. So like every tour we do, like we go out of our way to always like try to make friends with every band. If we're headlining or whatever, I mean, obviously if you're like opening or second of, it's kind of tough because if people are whatever, but we've luckily never had like shitty experiences. Everybody we've ever toured with, anybody like Madball, we became friends with. In Flames, Devil Driver, Trivium, we were friends with.
That In Flames, Devil Driver, Trivium tour was actually a really good time. We really got a lot of fun with every band.
Yep.
Especially Devil Driver, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, we were really, Dan and Dez like got really close for that tour. Same with like everybody like says about how the guys in Trivium are weird at all. I'm like, dude, they were unbelievably cool. So, yeah.
Have you guys ever tried to go to Canada, or have you gone to Canada?
Yeah, we played Canada. Yeah.
We did Canada last year.
Yeah.
Never had any problem.
No,
I mean,
no border trouble.
I mean,
There was one time we got nabbed for the merchandise tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
They tax you on what you're bringing in, not what you sell. So if you come over and you have, say you have 500 T-shirts in your trailer, they'll tax you for every shirt you have with you, regardless, because you don't know what you're going to sell. And then you can apply to get the money back when you come back out for what you didn't sell. But they make it so hard that you'll never get it back.
Yeah.
And I think we got like hit with it was like something like $1,500 that we had to pay.
Jesus.
But it wasn't too bad because we had a lot of merch and it was early in a tour. So, it was fine. Like it ended up being okay. But
yeah, everybody always has crazy Canada stories. That's why I asked.
Yeah, we never. I mean, we're. It's always the thing. We're like, oh, well, do we have any felonies? No felonies. Okay, we're cool. We were torn up there too when you could just use your ID. You didn't need a passport anymore.
Yeah.
Now you need a passport, so that was kind of. But yeah.
So, would you consider Zayo like a
I
party band?
actually.
What's that, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh no! I was going to say I actually hit an issue 2 years ago trying to get over the Canadian border with From Autumn to Ashes.
And what was that about?
Our singer Fran had some legal problems, and we kind of knew about it before we tried to cross the border. So at the time, he had pending felony charges, and we got him across the border with no issues. We had to do a bunch of legal wrangling to get him over the border. But he got over the border with pending felony charges. For some reason or another, Greg from Dillinger didn't get over the border the same day. And that's what I could never figure out, how we got Fran over the border, but they couldn't get Greg over the border.
Yeah, it's totally weird because before I started doing this podcast, I had never heard anything about Canada even having a border. I assumed it was just, some, like I said in previous interviews, I just assumed that it was, a Mountie sitting next to a little fucking gate and it's like, yeah, come on in, have a great time, But we've heard stories of people getting guns pulled on them and put into like isolation and
I've never been turned away.
Yeah, we've never had that problem.
If you try to scam them, they'll get you.
Yeah.
If you try to
just
scam
be
them,
honest.
Yeah, a lot of
if you say no, we don't have any merch, and they look and they find merch, you're done. Your best bet is to just be honest. Just be honest.
The one time we did have a really scary situation happen on a border crossing was when we were touring Europe, and I don't know if you were with us then, Jeff, or not. We went across the what was it? I think we were going into Italy, Switzerland. That's what it was. We were going into Switzerland. Oh, dude, Dan didn't have anything, but they basically because they brought the dogs to our van and everything, and they could smell remnant of marijuana because, hey, come on, what are you going to do? Right. But he didn't have anything on him. So they pulled him out and they took him to a cell and they're like, look, just tell us you got weed. Well, it'll be a lot better for you if you just tell us you got weed. And Dan's like, I don't have it. They're like, if you're telling us that you don't have it and we find it, and also there's a language barrier, so it's kind of rough for him.
Yeah,
he's like, he didn't have anything, but they were like trying to force him to convince him to just say that he had it for some reason.
Yeah.
And it was like a good 20 minutes of like we were scared out of our minds. Holy shit. But that was the worst border crossing was probably that time.
So outside of the States, like what are some of the awesome places that this band's been able to make you like let you to go see?
Everywhere in Europe that we got to see is incredible. I'm a little bummed out. My wife is also mad at me that I didn't take pictures, but but yeah, like just everything, like being in anywhere, like Belgium was beautiful, Germany, Italy, every country over there was just it like being able to do that because you play music's kind of crazy. And we're the type of dudes that like realize that stuff. Like I don't ever like take for granted that I'm like, oh, I get to do this. Like everything we've seen. It's a bummer because when you're on tour, you don't have a lot of time to look at stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd get to go through all these countries, and I'd get to see out the window of a van or a bus a couple times. But man, it's unbelievable. This weirdest thing for me was when we played in Hungary, and there were like terrorist posters and shit everywhere. And there was like freshly bombed buildings. Like I could see like damage to the buildings that just happened like months ago.
Damn.
So that was kind of weird. And we played in a German, like where they built tanks for World War II, which was kind of crazy.
That's pretty fucking metal.
Yeah.
That was actually my first Zayo show.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good way to kickstart
That's a
your
good
relationship.
opening.
Was there, yeah. Well, is there like a big culture shock going overseas and stuff, or are the fans any different?
Not so much. The biggest culture shock I've ever seen on tour was go to Japan, but that wasn't with Zayo. I mean, that's as close as I've ever felt to legitimate culture shock. But I mean, Europe is kind of like, yeah,
they did. I think the one thing over in Europe that was kind of neat for us is in Europe they're like kind of not more accepting, but like the way the shows are, people are just like a lot more chill. So like you wouldn't get like big like responses, but like nobody'd ever be bombed. It's like it's hard to gauge some of the shows because like some of the shows in London, like if you're in England, crowds were a little crazier, but we played shows in Germany where like people just looked at you and you're like, wow, this is like a shitty show. And then after the show, fucking awesome band. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a big thing in Germany. Like after every song, it's like, feed us. And then they like call you out for like 3 encores, and then they buy all the merch.
It's amazing.
What the hell just happened?
So, Dylan, do you have a question?
No, I'm pretty sure we've covered everything.
All right. So, would you say that Zayo is like a party band?
We can party.
We can
party.
We'll do it. We're high on life though too. So,
who would you say parties the hardest?
At one time, probably out of us.
Yeah.
At one time.
Dan.
Give us a good.
I'll give you here. Here's a fantastic story. Dan,
is this the Orlando story?
No, this is the one where we played that French festival. So all of us were huge Neurosis fans, and Neurosis was playing a festival we were playing. Unfortunately, Dan wasn't able to watch Neurosis because he was completely obliterated. Him and the singer of Cephalic Carnage and the singer from Creator busted in on one of the Exploited's interviews, and the dude like tried to fight Dan.
Yeah, Waddy wanted to fight Dan, and
but the fact that Dan was completely blitzed out of his mind with what's this Cephalic Carnage singer's name?
Oh shit.
I can't remember his name, but him and this dude from Creator is still just one of my favorite stories of all time.
I actually, on that In Flames tour, I was hanging out a lot with Dan. That was when Dan and I started rooming together. Mm-hmm. And I remember I started hanging out with Dan and Dez from Devil Driver. And I remember we were in Nashville, hanging out in Devil Driver's Winnebago.
Yeah,
drinking moonshine with Hank Williams III.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome.
And yeah, it's like if you wanted to have fun on Zayo tour, you go hang out with Dan. Dan would get you. Like,
yeah. Like, dude, I mean, there were like times when we like hung out with the Ferret dudes. That was probably the worst I ever got. It was Funeral of God tour, and we went out for like celebration of the Funeral of God record, and I was blackout drunk. I've never been blackout drunk. I was blackout drunk, and I don't know how we got back to the hotel. We got back to the hotel. Our bass player was so drunk, he was yelling out the window, calling the Holland Tunnel his bitch. I have no idea why. And we get back to the hotel, and I somehow got into the room, but like Dan and the bass player and drummer all slept in the van. And the police came and were like, yeah, buddy, what are you doing in the van? And Sean, our bass player, was fucking shirtless in a gutter. But that's the worst I think I've ever seen for me personally. I'm kind of a weak fucking party dude. Like, it'll depend. Like, I'm usually the dude that's like going to bed.
Well, we have different rooms when we go out. There's the good guy and the bad guy rooms. Like, me and Dan room together. We're the bad guys. We're the ones that stay up late. And then it's like Scott and Marty are like, they're the good guys. They go to bed early. Like, they're responsible.
So, whose farts smelt the worst?
Dude, weirdly enough, nobody in our band, you know what our problem is? It has nothing to do with smells. Fucking snoring.
Yeah.
Dan is a
Which
Mack
is also
truck.
the bad guy. That's also the bad guy.
And that's another bad guy thing. Like, so it's like a train crashing into a truck while doing construction work. It's unbelievable.
I've heard exactly what you speak of.
Well, I mean, if you listen to how he sings, he snores very similar.
Very. I mean, dude, it's so bad for me that I had to get an app on my phone and put earbuds in so I could have an hour of sleep at least.
Kyle Alfonso told me not to ask, but I'm going to ask this anyway because I want to know what he's talking about. He said, how hard did the guys in Bleeding Through party?
You know what?
Back then, they didn't party.
Yeah, not that I can remember.
I think some of them party now. I think Scott parties now.
Scott, yeah, he might.
Yeah, Scott parties now.
When we toured with Bleeding Through, I don't remember them being like big party dudes. They were.
That's another good party experience. The last night of the tour with Bleeding Through, our tour bus, we were leaving for the airport. We were leaving for the airport the next morning. And our tour bus, there was an apartment above the club that let us plug the tour bus. They let us plug our tour bus power into their outlet. So we knew we were leaving the next day, and we're like, oh, we got to pull the power plug out. And we're pulling, and we actually pulled their outlet out of their wall. We're like, oh, man, we feel really bad. Well, they came back, and Dan and I happened to be outside, like, smoking. And we're like, hey, we're really sorry. We ripped the outlet out of the wall of your kitchen trying to get our bus. They're like, oh, no worries. Come on up and party. Like, that's how you'll pay us back. So me and Dan, and the person that lived in the apartment was a transvestite. So me and Dan go upstairs to this stranger transvestite in London and sat up till like 3 a.m. smoking weed and listening to Danzig. And the whole time, like, we had to be back in the bus at 4 a.m. And I remember like almost passing out, sitting in the apartment being like, we're going to miss our flight. We're going to miss our flight. We got to be in the bus. But yeah, got to hang out with stranger transvestites in London listening to Danzig.
Hey, not many people get to experience that.
and we had actually damaged their apartment in the process.
Yeah, that's.
So what's your go-to gas station food?
This is easy for me because I don't do it. I just don't eat. I've got to the point now where like I'll just forego eating than eating anything in a gas. We were just at like it was a Flying J, and there was this goddamn cheeseburger hot dog. It looked like a fucking turd. Like, I don't know how people eat this stuff. It was like this big, horribly brown. Like it was garbage. I don't know why people do that.
Jeff?
Yeah, we really don't eat at gas stations.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that
although, I mean, we're into like weird candy, like not even weird candy. Like on this last trip, we discovered it was like coffee flavored M&Ms.
They are so good.
Yeah, it was like a limited edition coffee M&M, like fucking incredible.
Right.
Yeah, but for the most part, we stock up on coffee and.
Yeah.
So the hamburger turd It's pretty good
Hot dog.
segue. And no, yeah, hot dog, hamburger, or turd is a good segue into my next question. Is what's the weirdest place you've ever taken a shit on tour?
Oh, dude, I got a great story for this one. No, I didn't personally have to do this, thankfully. But when we were in Italy, I don't know if you guys are aware of this at all, but like the way we take shits in America is wrong. When you're not supposed to sit out, you're supposed to crouch. So in Italy, the toilets at the club were literally just porcelain holes on the ground, so you could crouch. Yeah. And luckily I didn't have to shit there. Hey, Russ did, and that dude had no idea what was going on. He looks in this hole, and he's like, "What am I supposed to do?" He fucking crabbed it. He like crab walked his shit. So and I mean, his like. I don't know, dude. I'm still perplexed. His leg, he was like he looked like backwards crab, and he was able to take a crap comfortably. And I'm saying you are putting your hands on other people's shit, and there was no other way for him to do it because he did. And I'm a little more knowledge now on the way you're supposed to go to the bathroom. If I would have known then, I could be like, hey. You're supposed to do it this way. This is actually the natural way for you to poop. Yeah, he crabbed in an Italian porcelain hole. There's a lot of funny shit stories with Cogdale, though. Yeah, to be honest with you.
I guess what the world really wants to know is: are you a stand to wipe guy or a sit to wipe guy?
Oh man, you got to stand up.
Yeah,
brother, that's the first, dude. That is a first right there. You guys are the first. Stand to wipers. I have stood alone until today.
Maybe it's a Western PA thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how you. What do you do? Like you sit. Like how do you're number one? Hopefully these people aren't wiping front back to front. Yeah. Like what are you doing? Getting shit on your balls? Like that's not gonna be fun. I'll stand up, man. I'll stand up.
All right. Well, do you guys have anything that you wanted to add? Do you have any releases or anything you want anybody to check out?
I mean, our recent release, The Well-Intentioned Virus. Definitely, if you haven't picked it up yet, do it,
please.
There's only a few white vinyl left. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, people. in like 3 months, people are going to be like, these things are like $200 on eBay. I mean, we sell them at the cheapest.
Yeah, right on.
Easily. There's maybe 50 left. Maybe 50 left.
So my last question, the last question I always ask is, what has been the most fulfilling moment of your musical career?
Oh. Wow.
Like personally fulfilling, like a oh my god moment, like my mom just read a fucking article about me and thinks that my band is going somewhere moment, like standing in front of like a bunch of people, like whatever it could be for you.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, honestly, as weird as it sounds, recently when NPR premiered our record, that was one of those things where I called my parents. I'm like, yeah, our record is going to be featured on NPR because like my dad listens to NPR. Like,
suck it, Dad. I'm on NPR.
It was like totally like, doesn't matter like what else happens. They're like, oh, that's a big deal. Like, I mean, they get it. Like they understand. Like they understand that, about the band and stuff. But like that was like sort of like a quantifiable like landmark. Like
that was pretty intense to have that happen.
And then I don't know. I don't think that like.
I mean, there's been so many cool things that happen, but there hasn't been anything like defining to me that like, because I think Zayo's still like a hard-working band that's trying to do better stuff. Like, but also at our own terms. So like, we're not going to do anything to like make the band bigger. We're happy with the way it is now, and we have no problem. And we're never going to like do anything that we don't want to do. But I think Zayo is one of those bands that's just like always like people kind of know, but has never really got like a lot of recognition. Like, we're a pretty good cult band, but it's never been like to where I've been satisfied. And that's not like in a bad, like negative way.
I
like,
guess that's a good perspective to have.
Yeah, like we
I
just
mean,
we're
you can only go up from here, you know. Like,
yeah, dude, we're like I'm close to 40 years old, and we're working as hard as we did when we were in our 20s. You know what I mean? Like, trying to do things. I mean, obviously we just released our own record, so we wanted to be on our own terms, and we want to do things the way we want to do them. But I'm hoping that there's things that are going to happen. I mean, dude, getting a beer, having a burger, stuff like that's incredible. Yeah. Just being able to release this record is kind of like a milestone thing for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. Like back, 10 years ago, our version of working hard was waking up every day and getting in a van and riding for 6 hours to play a show. Like now it's like my version of working hard, which I would much prefer to be in a van, is like every day I have to go and stand in line at the post office to send out records that people order. I'd much rather be in a van,
Yeah,
you ever waited in line at the post office? Like, but I mean, we're working hard in different ways,
Yeah.
Like,
if this could maybe be defining.
I mean,
for me,
we could have.
You keep freezing, bud.
I know, it sucks. For me, a defining thing would be I'm going to go see this Converge Neurosis tour, and if I like get to even talk to either one of those bands, and they go, "Oh yeah, I know who Zayo is," that would be like, "All right, I'm cool. I don't need anything else."
Right on. So
what was the one we found out recently? HR.
Oh, that doesn't make sense to me. That still blows my mind.
Apparently somebody told us that they were, I don't remember what it was, but somebody was talking to HR from the Bad Brands about Zayo, that he knew who Zayo was. And that just blew my mind.
Yeah, that's insane.
So Jeremiah asked, do you have any advice for musicians?
What's that, Jeff?
Learn about business and how to run a budget.
There you go.
That's good. That's good advice.
Dude, honestly, don't stop. Keep
that's been the
moving
problem with
forward. Every band, that's it. That's it. I mean, even, dude, persistence is so important, because eventually somebody's going to give a crap, and you're going to find somebody a friend, and no matter what you do, never, ever shit on anybody. Be awesome to everybody, because the dude that's too little right now for you to do the interview with in 10 years is going to be head of NPR. Don't forget
it. Oh man. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for, sharing your time with us. This has been one of my favorite interviews by far,
Absolutely.
man. You guys
Dude,
awesome.
Thank you guys.
And I do want to mention,
thank you so much,
that this video has had more comments than any of the 40 other videos that we've ever done. So
you just did one with Justin Pearson.
Yeah, and Dillinger.
What? Oh, I'm done. Whatever. That's crazy.
If you guys want to read the comments, just go on to the Facebook page, and you guys can answer them personally if you want to.
Yeah, we could do that.
We covered a lot of them.
So Sweet. I don't know if you guys heard at the beginning of the interview, before we got online with you guys, I mentioned that we do giveaways.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And what we try to do is, I have 2 giant boxes over here that are just like full of stuff from everybody that we interview. Anything that anybody is willing to send, I make sure that it gets put into great hands, And I wanted to ask you guys personally on the air, because this has been one of our, I can tell already, and I haven't even seen how many views we've had on this, but I'm willing to bet it's over 2,000 views just since we've been on, and it's the most commented and interactive post that we've ever had. So I'm sure that there are going to be people that are entering the giveaway that are your fans,
Cool.
Okay.
So I was wondering if maybe you could set up a little care package and shoot it over, or whatever you guys are comfortable with doing. If you guys need help with shipping or anything, I'm more than willing to pay out of my pocket and do whatever.
All good.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of what we're doing now, is like, Jeff is kind of like we're the bosses. Jeff's the arbiter of all that, and he does all. Dude, he's able to do whatever. We can do whatever we want. We don't have to ask anybody for anything.
Yeah. Well, I can't promise that if one of those white vinyls show up that they're going to go into the giveaway.
I know I have I have one of the 7 inches that we did a few years ago. Long gone. I have one of those left that I can send. I have a cassette that we've been holding on to that's out of. Well, I might even be able to throw a couple test pressings in there.
Awesome.
Oh my
god,
that'd
be killer.
Work it out.
But I do want to add that I open whatever you send me live on camera, so everybody sees what you send me. And the weirdest thing so far that I've been sent is Gab357 from Ion Dissonance sent me his fingernail that he broke off on a monitor PA that he kept for like 10 years. So if you can beat that, you know.
Dan has Russ's hair.
I mean, we're not in the market of giving away people's DNA, but
no, literally, like Dan. Apparently, like Dan. What did they do? Shave Russ's head, and it came off in one piece.
One piece.
Dan, literally, it's like a Russ Cogdale wig. It's like 10 years old.
Oh, dude!
And Dan says he still has it.
Yeah, he does. He has it.
And I know
it's
he wanted to get rid of it because he was afraid one of his kids were going to get a hold of it.
Still awaiting a package from Keller Harbin that he said that he has. I guess the dudes when they're back in, I think it was Norma Jean. Or no, it was Chariot, right?
Chariot.
Oh yeah.
He has. They used to go to Moe's every single day. And they would put something weird inside a piece of foil, and they'd make a ball. Every day they'd put something more and more strange into this ball. And he said that there's one-of-one merch in there. There's money in there and used condoms and all kinds of just gross and weird and awesome shit in this layered shit ball. And he said that he was going to try to get a hold of that and send it to us, but I haven't heard from him yet. If I get that.
Good luck touching that thing.
I'm not even. Well, I told him, I was like, if you send it, I'll open it on camera. But I think that I would probably just. Well, he said that there's weed in it and shit.
Oh, dude, send it then. So, get it. Do it.
But I'm worried about that coming to my house in the mail. But whatever. If that happened, that'd be spectacular. But
nothing could go wrong trying to send weed in the mail.
Yeah. Well, I feel sorry for the person who's going to dig through 10 pounds of shit and condoms and whatever to get to the dime bag inside that thing.
Oh.
But it's been amazing, guys, and I want to thank you from fucking bottom of my heart for this interview, man. It was
we're so happy to do it, man. Thank you.
Can't wait to see you guys come through Florida.
Yeah.
It'll happen. For sure.
Sooner than later.
Well, we'll make sure to treat you right when you come through. So
awesome. Yeah, keep in touch with us so we can hang out. That'd be awesome.
There you go. We got a place.
Sweet.
All right.
You guys have a good one. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
You want to say it or do I need to say it, Dylan?
1, 2, 3.
They're such nice
dudes.
guys. They're so nice. Oh my God. I can't believe it.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's crazy because I've always liked Zayo. There's never been anything wrong with Zayo. They've always been a really good band, but they've never been up here on my list. They're always yeah, Zayo's good. I can listen to Zayo. But I have to say, after talking to these guys tonight, I feel like my fandom for Zayo has
agreed
gone so much further up because just how freaking nice of dudes they are.
Well, Malachi started watching, and Malachi is the one that turned me on to Zayo.
Yeah.
So I know Malachi was a big fan of him, so that was pretty cool that he tuned in.
You know who turned me on to Zayo?
Who?
And nobody that's watching is going to know who Malachi is or Josh Monell. But
yeah.
Josh Monell turned me on to Zayo.
I drove by his house in Riverview the other day, and I was just like, I wonder if they still live there.
I tried looking him up on Facebook, can't find him. He disappeared. Last time I ran into him at a fucking pet supermarket or something, and he was with a deaf girl, and he's was dating this deaf girl and was super serious with her, and he didn't know sign language, so everything they said to each other they wrote down in a notebook.
Texted.
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Yeah,
that was killer.
Yeah. Well, anybody who's still watching, if you enjoyed tonight's interview, we have many more like it in our library and many more to come. I would suggest looking at our YouTube, youtube.com/sheepsxclothing, all one word, no little apostrophe after the S in sheeps.
We have DL from Legend and Acacia Strain on next Sunday.
And then Robinson following
Robinson.
Sunday. We stream every single Sunday, rain or shine, unless something's wrong with one of us.
Or computer.
I had to take a shit in the middle of this interview. That's the first time that ever happened. Dude, I could not even sit here and be like, Dylan, I gotta go for a minute. I'll be right back. I was just like, it was coming out. That was like the fastest shit I've ever taken in my life.
Prairie dogging. I saw you.
Sorry. To enter the contest that I mentioned, go to our YouTube and subscribe. That is all it is. That's like the fastest shit I've ever taken in my life.
Prairie dogging.
Hold on. Yeah. So just go to our YouTube, youtube.com/sheepsclothing, and subscribe. And once we hit 666 followers on our YouTube, then we're going to give away our next package. And then following that, we're going to be doing 666 followers on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to get at least one giveaway every 2 months.
Even on Twitter?
Yeah, dude. We got some followers on Twitter, man.
I haven't even looked at it.
It's a thing. It's a thing now. It's been a thing, evidently. I didn't know.
There's too many things going on.
Yeah, well, I'm just happy with the Bandcamp because somebody sent me money. They sent me $4.
Yeah, we really got to hook this stuff up on iTunes.
This is the first time I've ever been paid for doing sheep's clothing. I got $3.08 in my PayPal.
Well spent. Well, the work we do here is priceless.
Yeah, I mean, do you see the smile on our faces right now? This is why we're here every Sunday to talk to
I know,
guys.
Dude, once it comes to like an hour and a half, I'm just like, I'm pretty sure they're ready to go. And you're just like, what's your favorite turd story? I'm like, come on, they're so nice.
I'm going to out as far as I can, and then if I can literally see the uncomfortableness and disinterest, then I hit them with the nice what's the most fulfilling moment in your career.
Well, there was a disinterest part, and then it sparked back up, and I'm just like, ooh.
Are you when we're talking about religion?
No, towards the end.
Okay.
It's just these are long interviews. I mean, you're talking an hour and a half interview.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing that, honestly.
Nobody's doing that, even because they're at the comfort of their own home.
Exactly.
They're not at a venue trying to get things set up and moving around and merch and all this other stuff. They're comfortable chilling at home talking to us.
That's what's so great about it, is because you can fake a personality for a 10-minute interview. You can fake a persona for 10 minutes. But if you're going to sit here and fake who you are for 2 hours straight without breaking character or whatever you want to call it, that's kind of hard to do. And you get to see who everyone really is. And
after an hour, it took an hour for Scott to cuss.
Exactly. And then at the end, he was talking about fucking shit hamburgers. See, that's what I'm talking about.
But there will be a day.
I noticed that too.
There will be a day when they will not be nice to us anymore. we will get that one. I mean, we've already had a couple kicking the ball since we've been doing this.
Yeah.
But we've gotten up, and yeah. This stuff ain't easy. It's not for the lighthearted.
And I guess if you guys are interested in our YouTube, on Monday is when I usually open packages that I get in the mail, if I have a package that Monday. And on Wednesdays, I upload a vinyl review video every Wednesday of just a piece of vinyl that's in my collection that I like, or I've been listening to, or I just picked up and had spent a little time with. But I'm trying to bring some kind of content weekly, so that way, you guys get familiar with the channel and what we're doing. And we definitely want to be more vinyl focused, because eventually I would like this to turn into some kind of record label, something or other. Who knows? We got a lot of room to grow here. But
where you at on the stickers?
I mean, as far as I haven't really fucked with it anymore. But I don't know if you remember my buddy Travis Johnson.
Yeah.
He does window decals, like like the decals you put on your cars.
What?
Yeah, and I sent him our logo, and I was like, "Hey, man, if you can help out in any way, like." He sent me decals before, so I'm sure he'll do it. But I'm sure it'll be a small batch, and I'll make sure you get one, and one's in the next giveaway, and I have one, and then whatever is left, I'll be handing out or whatever. But shirts.
Is it gonna have like the Facebook and stuff on it?
Yeah, not the decal. The decal's just gonna be our logo, our new logo. Okay. But the stickers that we're gonna put out soon here, those will have the Facebook everything on it and all that shit. And if you're interested in our YouTube, Josh, our producer, actually just put our link in the comments for our giveaway. Blah 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 blah. All right, Dylan. It's been a great one.
We're at 3,228 views.
That is the most views we've ever had in one fucking episode, man.
So, Nicholas, I will see you next week.
See you next Sunday, Dylan.
Later, buddy.